If you watched part one of my social media marketing world workshop, you know we went deep into creating authentic business building video content without the production crew or the project overwhelm. Well, this video is part two of my workshop presentation, and we're getting even more practical. In this session, I'm walking you through the real world process of bringing your experts or your subject matter experts on camera, even if they're nervous, busy, or totally new to video. You'll see exactly how to define your message and prep your experts so they feel comfortable and not scripted or salesy. I'll show you how to set up the tech and the gear for a smooth shoot, whether you're in the office or remote. We'll talk about all kinds of questions that unlock authentic stories and memorable sound bites, plus what to do on shoot day to keep everything on track, natural, and ready for repurposing. If you want to get those standout expert interviews and capture the knowledge inside your team, this is where you'll learn the hands-on, step-by-step framework I use with companies of all sizes. So let's jump into part two of my social media marketing world workshop and get your experts shining on camera. When you're trying to get your subject matter experts, one, it isn't their priority probably. Two, they may be a little hesitant to get on camera. But when you're creating content, your best content comes from the people who do the thing, who make the thing, who manage the company, who are the experts. That's where your content's at. So let me just go forward here to part two. Okay, how to get your SMEs and your thought leaders on video. So the challenge is getting them on the camera, knowing that they're not camera people, and they have a process to help them become less nervous and to capture this video. Now, what it's going to take is a little bit of coaching and planning to make sure they understand what's going to happen and how they're going to contribute to this. So it comes in 6 parts. Let's go through these, and these are what we're going to cover in this part 2. First of all, we're going to figure out how to define the message. We're marketers. We want to capture certain content. We don't want to go in there willy-nilly with just a conversation, because we know we have a purpose in our marketing plan. Like, are we launching a product? Are we trying to boost the brand in a certain direction? We want to know, what is our goal here? So you start there with trying to figure out what is it we want to ask this subject matter expert. Then you got to figure out how to get them to do it. We need their buy-in. Prepare your content and how you're going to present it to them. Set expectations for them. Like, am I going to be going to a room with a bunch of lights, camera, action, and a big production? Do I have to go to a studio? Is this going to be on camera or just audio? All these different things. Let them know what's going on. We'll go deeper into that. We're also going to talk about the tech setup. Knowing what you just learned earlier, we're going to take that and put it into the scenario where you're actually going to be recording these people. And then finally, what do you do on shoot day? What do you do to help make the shoot run smoothly? It's from a technical standpoint, from a coaching the subject matter expert standpoint. We're going to get into that stuff as well. So first of all, what is your goal? What is it you want to get out of that subject matter expert? You're going to think about, okay, if they don't say anything else, I want them to talk about the release of this new product. Or if nothing else, they need to mention why we just changed our direction with the brand. What is your goal as a marketer to get this content from them? Now, you may ask a lot of other questions, but you want to make sure you hit those points. This is especially true for video podcasts, because you want them to have a natural conversation, but you also want them to stay on topic. And then also select the right expert. Now, it's funny, I had this question asked last week. Someone said, well, our person in IT, you said select the expert, and they talk about our software, but they're really horrible on camera. I said, okay, here's a technique. Find out what interests them. Talk about them beforehand. Let's say, for example, this is stereotypical, I know, they're a Dungeons and Dragons fan. Find out that that's their thing, right? So when you interview them, sure, you got questions about security and IT protocols and the new software, but also throw in a D&D question there somewhere. Because what that's going to do is going to break the ice. They're going to change and they're going to light up. They're going to become themselves more. Intertwine those things. Ask about their family, their kids, things you know that lights them up. Intertwine that, use that as an injection of vitamin B12 to get them to wake up a little bit, right? That way, that person who has the knowledge can now perform better on video. Next up, think about how they align with your audience. I mentioned this earlier. If the person is talking, let's say, for example, we'll go from the executive down. If they're an executive, other executives will resonate with the content you create with those executives. If they're on the tech team or the marketing team or sales team, people who are in those teams will resonate with that. So think about, who is it you're selling to? Who is it that would resonate with them most? I would prioritize that over their personality, because the person that's viewing the video, they may be dull too, but they can relate to the person that they're just talking to them. So think about that as well. If you're a marketer struggling to create content that's truly unique to your brand, here's the key. Your experts and executives are your most valuable content assets. Conversational content like videos and podcasts featuring your team stand out above all other content. So instead of creating content that sounds just like your competition, start leveraging the unique voices inside your company. Thought leaders and authentic conversations build credibility and engagement. At Content Monster, we specialize in remote content production, meaning we coach your people to be comfortable on camera, then we capture and produce high-quality videos and podcasts featuring your team and customers. No need for expensive production crews, long production plans, or complex setups. Want to see how it works? Visit contentmonster.com today to learn more. When you have your personas, you know who your ideal customer profile is. You might have someone like that in your organization who also happens to be an SME. That's the person you assign to that video. So as you develop your messages, think about one or two key topics you want to make sure you cover. Keep it brief, because even though you may talk longer, you want to focus on those one or two topics, and encourage real examples. This is where you can get the person's personality to come out. Say, okay, I hear you mention that this is the greatest product, but tell me why. Give me an example of a customer who really enjoyed this. Then all of a sudden they go off script, tell you a wonderful story. They talk for 5 minutes and you got a great 1-minute clip of them being authentic, telling a story, unscripted, unplanned, and they're just talking about the product. Now, they think they're on a tangent, but you're thinking, wow, that was a great clip I just got, right? Also, approach a question from multiple angles. You may ask the same question from a different angle, because as a marketer, you're thinking, I want to get that clip. I want to get that video, right? It may be a long form video that you're going to edit. You may not like how they said it. You may think, well, I want them to say that the T9000 is the greatest product in the world, but that sounds salesy. You may say, okay, let me ask the question again in a different angle a few minutes later. So this product has done really well. Why do you think that is? Well, because it's got the greatest buttons on it. Now they've answered the question, same thing they've said, because it's the greatest in the world, but they didn't say the same words. Now you have a clip that's less salesy, different angle. It's up to you as the person maybe creating these bullet points or doing the interview to get this information out of them from different angles. And then also connect their expertise to your brand. You want to show how their knowledge matches your brand. So if you're interviewing, say, for example, the CTO about software, even if it's not about your software, you want to ask the CTO, so why is it, or the CISO, whatever the chief security officer is, for example, what is it about your career that's so fascinating? And they say, well, I worked at NASA and I did security there for so many years. That lends credibility to your company. Marketers and sales leaders, if you want to close more deals and drive real revenue growth, you need cash. And I don't mean money. I'm talking about my new book, Cash, the 4 keys to better sales, smarter marketing, and a supercharged revenue machine. It gives you a proven framework to improve the 4 areas that impact revenue the most: communication, alignment, systems, and honesty. You need a stronger sales and marketing engine, and this book will show you how to build it. Get your copy now at aleejudge.com/cash. Now, back to the content. Okay, so step 2, secure your SME's commitment. This is a hard one because, again, the higher you go up the ladder, the less they're thinking about creating content, right? Their focus is not on creating content. But if you explain what's in it for them, everybody has their with them, or what's in it for me. Also, play into their ego to say, you know what, your personal brand, we can help you with that. You know, if you can tell us about your story or why you're so great or what you've done, We can help you make some clips for your social media. Now, this isn't about helping them leave the company. I know some companies fear that in terms of personal brand. It's about saying, look, again, you've done this for so many years. You're the expert at it. Let us help you show that you're the expert. Now it's personal to them, and they'll get on board with you to create content. So also, you want to help them demonstrate their value in the company and reassure them that this isn't live TV. We can always edit this, right? You say what you know, have a conversation. It doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be scripted. We'll edit it. Forget the cameras even there, just talk to me. It's just me and you. Have a conversation. It can be edited. All right, talking about your questions a bit. Insightful questions that are thought-provoking, open-ended questions, not, of course, do you like it here? Yes. Is the product great? Yes. Open-ended questions. Why did you want to be on the development team? Why did you just move from this team to that team? Well, because I was interested in that particular product, et cetera, et cetera. Connect the most questions, I mentioned earlier, most questions to connect with your goal, but also add in some spare random questions to wake them up from time to time. The whole conversation interview does not have to be on the topic. And then finally, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I want to get some more questions in later on. Avoid jargon. When you're asking questions, you're going to get, if you ask them in jargon or in acronyms, you're going to get answers in jargon, in acronyms, right? So, I always say when I talk to content marketers, you want to speak the language of your customer. Sometimes marketers, we're all caught up in our new campaign for the new T9000 when our customer calls it a screwdriver. So if you ask someone, so what do you think about the new T9000? They're going to say, well, the T9000 does A, B, C, D. No. Say, we have a product that, churns screws with zero power used. What do you think about that? Oh, well, you know what? This new development we have, and they'll have a conversation and they can reach people. Think about that from an SEO standpoint too. If you have a new product, it has no SEO power, right? But if you have a conversation about a solution, then you have SEO juice. People are looking for that solution. You want your SME, your person on video, to say those words. We know that right now, especially with AI gobbling up all the content on the internet, YouTube videos, everything else, having those words in the conversation is extremely important, right? Have them say the things that you want people to find, because it's just like writing an article. You want them to say the words so it's searchable, so the AI can find it. You can lead them into those things by asking the questions. All right, pre-interview. This is a tricky one, because sometimes I advise don't even do a pre-interview because people get nervous or they get scripted. So to help them become more comfortable, you do want to set a clear timeline and expectation. Say, look, we need an hour of your time. You may know you only need 20, 30 minutes, but you also may know, well, we may need more time to set that camera up. We may need to ask some questions. They may be late. We had a situation where we were interviewing doctors who were active surgeons, and these surgeons they may get called off at any moment. So we booked an hour time for them. One surgeon at 45 minutes had to run to do a surgery in the ER. Had we planned for the 20 minutes we needed, we wouldn't have gotten them. They planned for an hour, we got it done in 40 minutes, 45, they were out, no problems. We planned for that.
Hey marketers, imagine harnessing the power of conversations to elevate your brand's authority and visibility. With Content Monster's podcast production services, you create a platform to connect with executives and subject matter experts, fostering relationships that position your brand as a thought leader. Our expert team collaborates with you to craft engaging podcasts, which can be repurposed into videos and social media content, maximizing your reach across platforms. Don't let content creation challenges hold you back. Partner with Content Monster to transform your marketing strategy and reach more customers. Visit contentmonster.com today to get started.
Think about, this is social media marketing world. Think about how you're going to use the formats. Coach your people into sound bites. Ask them questions. In fact, you do want to let them know that, hey, you know what, we're going to use some of these shorts. You can put it on your LinkedIn channel. Can you tell me that same answer again, but just a little bit shorter? It goes back to asking them different angles again. You give them the same question, different angle, try to get a shorter answer out of them. Editing's always there, but keep in mind what your output is going to be.
In terms of preparation, now wardrobe is something that, one of those things where we don't think we have to always say, but it's one of those things that can really run afoul on your shoot day. For example, today I came in and checked with sound. I was wearing just a t-shirt. I'd have been mic'd one way. I come back later on with a sweater on. I'm mic'd a different way. It's important to know these things. So choose camera-friendly options. And when I say camera-friendly, I'm also talking about audio as well, obviously. Mid-weight clothing, even though we don't have the big lights that are hot like before, we still have the stress of being there. Can also have people heat up, so lightweight stuff. Main thing is, there's a thing called a Moya effect. When you have shirts or clothing that has fine lines, it can give weird stuff in the video, so you want to avoid that. Again, time is going short. We have all the information here in the slide deck, but also noisy jewelry. Think about it. You have mics going on. We've had cases where someone had a necklace on and the whole time. You've probably seen keynotes where that happened when somebody's noisy because of that. And then finally, it's shoot day. You have your equipment check going on. Check out your equipment beforehand. Check out your lighting beforehand. You don't want to have your executive in the room and you're still trying to figure these things out. Oftentimes when we do remote, we have the marketer, hey, how about sit in this chair to make sure the lighting is good, the audio is good. So when your CEO walks in, they walk in, she sits down, does a recording, she walks out. That's because of planning, right? All that stuff has to be done beforehand. And connectivity test. If you're using a Riverside or Open Reel, test your connectivity. One of our worst horror stories happened a few years back. We're recording executives in a hospital. They have serious firewalls for obvious reasons, right? Those platforms like a Riverside, a Zencastr, or Open Reel can't get through their firewalls, right? We had to ask them, can you open up a port? We ended up actually, after the first fiasco, we said, you know what? Can we record your doctors at home before they even come into the office? From then on, no problems. But every week trying to fight off or get IT to open up a port, they're like, you know what? We're Microsoft Teams. That's the only web RTC we have open in the port. No, you're not getting your Riverside in. So think about that ahead of time as well.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast for your business? And if you have, you probably have some questions, and we understand that because podcasting isn't for every business. That's why we've created a tool called podcastornot.com. If you go to podcastornot.com, you can take a quiz that gives you a full assessment of the strengths and weaknesses you may have in terms of if you're ready to start a podcast and how it can benefit your business. Now, we know podcasts are a great marketing tool and a great source of content for all businesses, but maybe you're not there yet. So take this assessment at podcastornot.com. We'll give you a full report that you can share with your team about are you ready and is a podcast a fit for your business. So go to podcastornot.com, take the quick quiz, and get a full assessment of should you start a podcast for your business. Back to the content.
We're almost finished. Video shoot day. Coaching your person. If you're in the room with them, you can coach them, tell them it's okay to pause. We're going to edit you. How much time do I have left? It's just 1 minute and 26 seconds? Okay. Let me just go to this slide. It's full. There's your checklist. Now this presentation in full has a full checklist of like a day of flight list. It has a link to a bunch of equipment that we use and suggest. Again, the equipment's always changing, but this is what we're using right now. So if you've already downloaded the slide deck, you have that list. We use like Amazon store because we can always move stuff in and out because sometimes, like next week, for example, we're going to take off the Logitech maybe and add in the OBSBot once we finish testing it. One more point about the rehearsal. They may always ask for a rehearsal, but I guarantee you, some executives, you give them a chance to rehearse, they're going to start scripting everything. Your answers will not be extemporaneous anymore. So I would suggest doing a technical rehearsal with someone else, but not with the SME, because they will come in and they'll rehearse the answers. Now, if they request questions, give them a few, but not all of them. Otherwise, they will script them and they will try to say the exact same thing, and then you'll have a dozen takes because they want to nail what they wrote down and planned. We had one guy brought in a stack of old school note cards, and he's like, the answer to your question is, come on, dude. They over-prepared them. Okay, full build. Build an environment that's safe for them. This is why remote production is so great, because there's not a lot of equipment. The more people you have in the room, the more stressful it is for your SME, the more they're going to want to be scripted, the more they're going to clam up and not be as good of a subject matter expert in terms of being natural. That's it. So connect with me on LinkedIn. There's a lot more we could always talk about. My favorite social hangout is LinkedIn, although we're picking up the pace on everything else, especially YouTube. So thanks, everybody. I look forward to seeing you the rest of the week. I'll be around. Thank you.
Everybody, lead, judge, give it up, a round of applause.